community is furious after a recent post has gone viral talking about V. People are criticizing the Korean military's harsh conditions and what happened with Jimin at the camp. And then we have V and his father being spoken about. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Disci. Let's get into it. So recently there was a 26-second clip that went super viral and got around 2.6 million views. This clip showcased V sitting. He was on his phone when he received a text from his dad sending him a picture of some shoes that he was looking at. V quickly looked at the photo and asked if his dad was trying to get those shoes or if these were something that he just really liked, and the dad said yes, to which V replied, well then go ahead and get them. People thought this was really cute, and they thought that it really showcased the amazing and cute interaction that he and his dad have, but also just like what V does for his family. There could be many ways to interpret this interaction. It could be that the dad wanted to get V's advice on the shoes because the dad values his son's fashion sense, or he wanted to ask permission in terms of wanting to be able to purchase these shoes, and perhaps there's a credit card that V has that his family has access to, and his dad might be asking his son if he's allowed to use that credit card to purchase those shoes. And I think this is pretty normal. I think most people in this position would be happy or okay with their family taking a few dollars from their account to buy some shoes. What difference does it make for V to spend $1,000 or a couple $1,000s on shoes? And I think we all hope to get to a point where we can give our family whatever they want and just be able to cover it. So I think this is why this clip resonated with so many people, because they wish that they could do something like this and that they're seeing that their favorite celebrity is doing exactly what they themselves would do if they were in the same position. And yeah, if you're super rich and you're doing awesome and amazing things, then why not give back to the people that are around you? The only time in which I would imagine is a problem to give back is if you're actually not doing well yourself. But above all else, this really reveals the relationship that V has with his family, and a loving one. He's always available to respond back, and even if it's something really silly like this, he's always willing to help whenever he can. This also just shows you how good of a person he is and what kind of soul he happens to be. And I think we can all aspire to not only learn something from that, but to aspire to be that as we get older and hopefully do better. Even if it ends up being $1,000 or a couple $100, maybe you can give back to your family in that way, and you should be able to give back in some shape or form, whether that is contributing to the mortgage, even if you don't live there anymore, or simply just giving them a little bit of money so that they can retire and enjoy the rest of their life, right? In this case, V has essentially given probably his entire bank account to them and allows them to buy whatever they want. And I doubt they even spend anywhere near it where it would make a dent in the money that he has. Now, there is a genuine concern or hate over a lot of the recent conversations surrounding something that a fan said. Someone talked about how she absolutely loves V and how he is very different from a lot of the other K-pop stars, and while this is true, the example that she gave is causing a lot of backlash. She not only mentioned that he might be one of the very few K-pop stars that sings jazz music, so that's what people think makes him different. However, she then mentions that he is not like other K-pop stars in a way that he doesn't wear makeup and that he appears more masculine, that sort of stuff, which tends to be a very common critique among K-pop stars and something that is often pushed by the Western community as a problem. Whereas in K-pop, it's not a huge issue. And also a lot of K-pop stars nowadays don't wear makeup, like outside of foundation and stuff. There's so many reasons why looking more feminine or appearing as such is a bad thing in Korean culture. There's of course the obvious reason of just appearing softer, and that of course resonating with the younger audience, which is typically what K-pop stars want to do and what the industry wants to do. The other thing is just perhaps wanting to differentiate themselves from other people. One of the ways that women can differentiate themselves within the pop space is of course dressing outlandish or being overtly sexual and doing that on stage, whereas of course a male pop star can't do that, right? The only thing that they can do is stand out and of course do a lot of scandals or dress more ambiguously so that people are talking about it. Or it's an interesting thing to look at, right? Which is what pop is supposed to be. But since this is sort of a tired conversation that the community often gets critiqued for, people wanted to bring up the fact that V does not have anything against wearing makeup, and quite frankly would be upset at someone saying that he looks manly because he's not wearing makeup. And I agree with this sentiment. I don't think anyone should be called less of a man for wearing makeup, and makeup initially was also intended for men to wear. But on the other hand, I totally agree with the fact that if someone just has a preference for men looking a certain way and that's just what is going to draw them into the music, then I guess they're allowed to have that preference, even if it's something that I think is a little bit sexist. Like, it comes from a sexist place, and it comes from the fact that people hate femininity. People hate women, and that's an issue that of course we have to discuss at some point and hopefully work towards a better future. But at the same time, there is a general preference for men looking a certain way, and we can try to fight against it, but what is going to happen is you're going to feel like you're fighting against it. And it's always easier, especially in an industry that's like very fickle to begin with, to just flow as opposed to go against it. And the K-pop stars as well as the K-pop industry are very much aware of this. And so when the boys started to do more stuff in the US, you'll notice that they all dyed their hair back to their natural black color, and they were wearing like crop tops or more sexually ambiguous things. But I will say sometimes it does feel like the West or the Western culture is a little bit more conservative than I think what people here like to think that we are. Like, we've not moved past this point where men can look however they want. And why are we not okay with watching someone who does look a little bit more ambiguous? Eminem said this really popular quote, which is, unless you're trying to sleep with someone, why do you care what they look like? And I absolutely agree with that. We should definitely not care what a K-pop star looks like because we're not going to sleep with them. So why not just view them as art? And then there should be no issue. Jimin recently revealed in a recent Are You Sure episode the harsh conditions that he faced while he was in the military. This was very shocking to people, as he talked about at one point not showering for 5 days. And when he and the rest of the soldiers were able to, they went to the bathroom and started scrubbing like crazy. Many people allege this is a human rights violation, as well as in general just how many alleged violations that exist in the Korean military. And people are calling out actions like this to say that this is nothing that you should wear as a badge of honor, but more so a sign of trauma and abuse. And this is an interesting conversation. I want to point out the opposite side of this first, and then we'll get into why I agree that these conditions are not great. A human rights violation in military training is bound to happen because it's military training. And imagine if you were actually going to war and someone gets shot or something, would you sit there and be like, oh, human rights violation? Like, they knew what they were getting into when they signed up or were forced to go to the military. They knew the conditions were going to be really tough. This isn't to say that the boys have no right to complain, because obviously they can complain and are allowed to talk or complain about any harsh condition that they went through and any hardship they went through in the military. And this is a huge conversation that I think a lot of people even want to hear too. And of course, we should expect that the actual training, though, is going to be similar for what they would expect during war, which is probably days without sleep, and of course, without showering, let alone maybe without food if they're on the battlefield, right? Like, the conditions are not going to be butterflies and rainbows when they're at war. And then, of course, at the same time, they're not at war, right? So training should have some sort of limitation to what they can and cannot do. Should they have gone that long without giving them a shower or a break or something like that? Definitely not. I would say that that's absolutely crazy. I would say 3 days is even pushing it, so 5 days is crazy in my opinion. People are glad that the boys are out of the military and they don't have to do stuff like this. But I am happy that they went through it because it just shows how strong they are. It shows that people can endure stuff like this, and of course, their comeback is going to be nothing compared to that, so it'll be easy breezy for them. The bottom line is we don't fully know the context of what happened. Not that it fully matters that much, but I'm sure there is a reason why the military had them do that. What if it was like a 5-day trip across a desert, and obviously there's no way to shower? But the fact that they endured it means that they really do love their country, so it's a little bit of both. I can see both sides of this, but of course I don't believe that they should have gone through something like that. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Of course, this is my take on this, and obviously it's going to be a little more controversial. I think most people are just going to flat out say they disagree with the fact that I'm saying this. But definitely let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you so much for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.